Welcome, friends, to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. Guys and girls, you know the drill. I'm a retired New York City police detective, and if you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so you'll get all things DutyRon. And yes, Ed Wallace is back in New York. He's going to be joining us at a later time. He's trying to recover from his 20-some-odd hour trip home from over in the Middle East. So Ed Wallace is back on U.S. soil. He's going to be joining us. But I want to say a special thank you for all the Patreon supporters, the channel members, the folks who watch our replays and leave positive comments, the mod squad, the super thanks, and the folks who are now buying Ed Wallace and I cups of coffee. We have that app attached to another way to support this great community. Cups of coffee are coming in from Lieutenant Pete and his wife, Rochella, Princess Mitch, and others. As I was going live, people were sending in cups of coffee for me and Ed. And Ed travels so far, you know he needs those cups of coffee. I juggle a full-time job and a YouTube channel, so we can all use a couple of cups of coffee. So thank you for that. Today's video is going to be about Rex Heuermann and former disgraced police chief James Burke from the Suffolk County Police Department. Are they suspects in the Shannon Gilbert case? And could they possibly be suspects? We know Rex Heuermann possibly could be suspects in up to 10 or more victims, total of 10 or more victims in this Long Island serial killer Gilgo Beach 4 case. We're waiting on charges to be brought on the fourth piece. That's for Maureen Brainerd Barnes. Her family is waiting for some form of justice to come in regards to her case, and we heard the district attorney. But there's so much that's surrounding James Burke, so much corruption, and the corruption goes back to his early days. I mean, this guy was a police chief in Suffolk County from 2012 to 2015. You know, as you can recall, Shannon Gilbert made that desperate 911 call on sometime in May. I believe it was May 5th. Don't kill me if I got it wrong. May 1st. I got it. It just came back into my head. May 1st of 2010. That infamous 911 call that lasted 22 minutes. And coincidentally, you guys have all been asking me to cover that 911 call and play it. We're going to play it in its entirety, so stick around here, and we're going to play the unedited version of it. And there's so much in there. There was numerous calls from Shannon on that recording to say to the 911 operators, somebody is after me. Somebody is trying to kill me. And you heard her say that so many times. It's heart-wrenching to hear it. So we're going to listen to that. We're going to get into it. My hand is healing up. As you can see, ooh, wrong hand. So these are the stitches that were removed. This is some of the bruising from my other hand from the IV, but it's healing up good. That's the surgery that I had on my thumb. I'm healing up good, and I want to say thank you to everybody for your well wishes, especially the folks. I went to my P.O. box yesterday. I got a dozen of these cards, but this one comes in from Minister of Faith up in the Northeast. She says, DutyRon, you and your family are always in my heart and prayers. I'm praying for your hand surgery to go well. Please be gentle with yourself. And this is a beautiful card that was sent into the P.O. box. I want to thank her for that. Thank you, and so many others that came in. I don't want to make this show about me and my hand and healing, but I'm on the mend. So I want to play for you. It's a 3-year-old story. Most of you have not probably ever seen this. Let me know while we're watching it if you've ever seen it. It's called The Reporter's Notebook, an inside look at the 6-week trial of former district attorney Thomas Spoda. Now, Thomas Spoda, as you guys all know, is in federal prison to this day. He's in prison serving a long sentence. He was charged with all types of misconduct and criminal activities, and he was charged federally. Tom Spoda is in jail, like I said, as we speak. but this is a reporter's notebook, and this reporter did a fantastic job of outlining the corruption within the Suffolk County Police Department. And again, this is years old, but it's well worth the listen, well worth the read. If you don't, if you don't watch this and you're just listening to it, hey, what's up, Mark? Good to see you. There's my good friend and co-worker, colleague from my day job, Mark Zayas. Good to see you, my brother. Thank you for joining. So I'm going to play this for you guys because I think it's important. Let's take a listen. She outlines everything that had to do and leading up to the trial, and it shows you how deep James Burke was involved with Spoda. And, James Burke and Spoda go all the way back. They go back to 1979 when there was the incident where James Burke was allegedly he was a witness to a murder that occurred in 1979, and he was the main witness, and Tom Spoda used him to testify in a case. So let's take a listen to it, and let's hear what she has to say, because she did a fantastic job. Let me know in the comments if you've ever heard this interview, have you ever seen this reporter. So let's take a listen. Let me know in the comments. Put a 1 if you've ever seen this video. Put a 2 if you've never seen it.
Prosecution laid out their case first. The prosecution laid out their case first. And this is kind of really the trial of James Burke that never happened. Hi, everyone. I'm Eileen LaPalmer, the criminal justice reporter here at News 12 Long Island. As you may know, I've been covering the trial.
So just want to let you guys know, and this is the only time I'm going to stop it, I promise. Eileen LaPalmer is a longtime News 12 Long Island local. These are local people. You're not going to see them if you're in California or if across the world. This is a News 12, which is a local news outlet. They cover Long Island news, but they've expanded to the 5 boroughs, but it's essentially the New York region. And again, Eileen LaPalmer in this piece does a freaking phenomenal job. So I give her the DutyRon approval with the siren. Thank you, Eileen.
Federal obstruction of justice trial of former District Attorney Tom Spoda and his investigator Christopher McPartland. There is so much evidence and so much testimony at this trial that we haven't even been able to fit into our daily stories. So we thought we would do this kind of reporter notebook look back. And I brought my reporter notebooks, all of them here. I started out small, and then I obviously had to expand. 5 notebooks total. We also have a hard drive here full of video and evidence that was entered into trial, as well as a folder here that included a juror's questionnaire that really read as like a who's who of the county.
For years, Tom Spoda and Christopher McPartland prosecuted people accused of crimes. Today, for a second day, the former Suffolk District Attorney and his key aide sat in a federal courtroom as defendants.
When James Burke was brought up in federal charges, he chose to plead guilty. And obviously when you plead guilty, none of the evidence comes out. So all this stuff that had been rumored about in the county and spoken about for years, a lot of stuff that even my sources had told me years before, never came out into the public. So during the openings, they talked, there was a quote, 2 corrupt lawyers. These 2 men abused the power and authority of influence, those corrupt lawyers being Spoda and McPartland. They said it was all done to protect their close friend, a crooked cop. And the prosecutor said, why? Because they thought they were above the law. We heard from...
They thought they were above the law.
A detective who worked in the Internal Affairs Division, and he testified to things that had happened to James Burke, and that Tom Spoda was Burke's defense attorney in them. So in 1993, for example, Burke lost his service revolver, his gun. He was caught having sex with a prostitute in his squad car while in uniform. He then carried on a relationship with this woman, Loretta Rickenbacker, and then at one point they were out at a diner, this is what this testimony is saying, and that she needed to run home, and she asked to borrow Burke's car. He had his gun belt with his service weapon in the back seat, and he let this convicted prostitute that he was in a relationship with take his car with his gun in it. Now, a police officer is never supposed to leave their gun unattended. It says that this was the IA detective says she saw the gun, she took it from the holster and brought the gun into her house. Then she started using crack with her friend. You heard from
a prostitute, James Burke, who at the time was the Suffolk County Police Chief. Internal Affairs knows that he gave his vehicle, a Suffolk County Police Department vehicle, with his service weapon, which is a no-no. You never do that. And he let this prostitute take his car, and she went home and smoked crack with his service weapon. She took it out of the holster, and he wasn't reprimanded. He should have been fired at that point. I know if that happened to me, I'd be fired. I would be disgraced and fired. Having sex with a prostitute in your police vehicle, and you do not get reprimanded, you do not get fired. I'm sorry, I went against my word. I said I wasn't going to stop, but I mean, this is only the second time I watched this, and this effing pisses me off. How? Why?
It says that this was the IA detective says she saw the gun, she took it from the holster and brought the gun into her house. Then she started using crack with her friend. You heard from Lieutenant Michael Kelly, who was with the Suffolk Police Department. He testified he was in the 4th precinct. Then he testified to the fact that after Burke assaulted Loeb, he came out and that Loeb eventually said, quote, "Some old guy in a suit smacked me." Now, we got to one of the witnesses, Kenneth Bombase. He was one of the intel detectives who admitted that he was in the room and admitted that he assaulted Loeb. He testified that 5 days after the Loeb assault, so we're talking about Christmas time in December of 2012, 5 days after, there was a party at Oheka Castle, and he testified that Burke was bragging about the assault.
So in 2012, Burke and a intel detective within Suffolk County assaults Christopher Loeb inside a 4th precinct cell, holding cell. And he goes on to be police chief, the chief of Suffolk County Police Department. That's not the police commissioner. He's the chief, which is the highest ranking uniformed member of Suffolk County PD. That's in 2012. He retained that rank until 2015, when he resigned with the permission of the police commissioner, Edward Weber at the time. The police commissioner allowed James Burke to resign with the permission of the police commissioner in 2015 on Tuesday, October 27th of 2015. So from that assault in 2012, he went all the way 3 years getting his police pay with all that corruption, prostitute, sex in the car, gun not secured, assault on an in-custody inmate who broke into his car and found snuff porn and dildos and all kinds of craziness in his police vehicle. And he retained the rank that he was an active police chief in Suffolk County till 2015. Who lets this guy stay there? Everybody at the top. Whoever was there or whoever was behind this, they all should be brought up on charges. That's how I see it. You're all corrupt. Anybody and anyone that had knowledge of this is despicable.
Openly in front of the bartender and others. This time in December of 2012, 5 days after, there was a party at Oheka Castle, and he testified that Burke was bragging about the assault openly in front of the bartender and others. and there was some concern that that could get back to somebody. You also heard from Anthony Leto. Now, he's one of the other criminal intel detectives who was in the room, who admitted to assaulting Loeb along with Kenneth Bombase and Police Chief James Burke. He is hoping to get less time behind bars for testifying against Spota and McPartland. He was asked specifically about, did he ever get any unorthodox assignments? And he did say yes, that Burke gave them, quote, unorthodox assignments. This is the intel detectives. He said Burke's girlfriend had a stepson that was giving her a hard time. He had us follow him around to see if he would break any laws. And the prosecutor said, what was the goal? And he said, we were trying to get him doing something illegal.
Burke's girlfriend, who is a prostitute, has a stepson who she didn't like. And Burke took his paid Suffolk County detectives, who are the highest paid police detectives in the United States. He took his detectives to tail his prostitute girlfriend's stepson because she didn't like him and was having a beef or an argument with him. And he put a squad of detectives to tail. You know how much money that cost the county? I'm not even halfway through this thing. This is a 10-minute video. We're at 4 minutes. And I've already broken the rule that I said I was only going to stop at once. So go ahead. Let me have it. I'm guilty as charged. I can't help it. I can't effing help it because this is enraged. This has got me enraged.
Give them, quote, unorthodox assignment for testifying against Spota and McPartland. He was asked specifically about, did he ever get any unorthodox assignments? And he did say yes, that Burke gave them, quote, unorthodox assignments. This is the intel detectives. He said Burke's girlfriend had a stepson that was giving her a hard time. He had us follow him around to see if he would break any laws. And the prosecutor said, what was the goal? And he said, we were trying to get him doing something illegal. He then testified to when County Executive Steve Ballone became the county executive, that he was told to give him security, follow him around, pretending to be giving him security while really spying on him, and then giving that information to Lieutenant Hickey. And then he said it would be going up the chain to Chief Burke. And this notebook has when James Hickey testified, starting at 10:17 in the morning. He's the government's star witness. He talked about how Burke had John Oliva, Bob Trotta, and William Maldonado, 3 officers at the time, transferred off the FBI's gang task force as retaliation because they were Burke's enemies. December 3rd, Hickey is still testifying. He's under cross-examination now. So they tried to really get on him for a number of things, including his 2 hospitalizations. In the 90s, he arrested a suspect for burglary in Wyandanch. And then Hickey testified that he lied under oath back in 1990. And then he lied to the Internal Affairs Bureau after that about the arrest in Wyandanch of this Mr. Freeman. And his testimony was found to be lies. And so the defense just spent a lot of time on that, trying to discredit him, saying, if you lied to that jury back in 1990, how do we know you're not lying now? The prosecution went first, and they really they talked a lot about not only Jim Hickey, because he was their star witness, but they also put up all these points in which other witnesses, they said, supported what Hickey had said about different meetings and different times where he was.
I want to just say this, James Burke, the reason he, and that's a good question that Kristen just posed, why wasn't he charged? In this earlier piece, at about the 3-minute mark, 2 minute and 50-second mark, I believe it was, this reporter Eileen LaPalmer says that Burke avoided a trial just like Chris Watts, and I mean, it's a different. I'm just giving you a correlation of it's probably not a good comparison, but if you plead guilty, they don't go forward with presenting evidence, right? And just like what we got frustrated in the Chris Watts case because we couldn't hear about the details, right? James Burke said, you know what, F it, I'm going to plead guilty because I'm done. I'm slammed. They will bury me. And we found out recently, he just got arrested. And what was the first thing he said to the state park police? He said, "This is going to cause me embarrassment. Could you please let me go? Do you know who I am?" He was still in 2023 under the delusion. He was delusional enough in 2023, just a couple of days ago, to solicit a male prostitute for oral sex. And he offered to give this male prostitute oral sex. And he said to them, "It would cause me embarrassment." So what he did here in this trial is that he said, "I'm going to plead guilty because they're going to get me anyways." And he did 40, he got sentenced to 46 months, and he did 40 out of those 46 months. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of info on that.
Different places, and they also use phone records to show cell phone calls between McPartland and Burke and Spoda and Hickey. They also had cell phone towers, like where it pinged off of. So when Hickey had testified that he met at the Ground Round and that he met at St. Pat's, they showed the jury how all of their cell phones were in that same location and pinging off different towers. But of course, when the defense got up, they said, well, that doesn't prove anything. It just proves they were in the same place, and maybe they're friends. They were hanging out. It doesn't mean what they were testifying to. It doesn't mean that they were talking about a cover-up in those conversations, even if they were in the same place at the same time. The government has got it wrong. They bought the Hickey version of events, and they drank the Hickey Kool-Aid. That was Larry Krantz, McParland's attorney, talking about drinking the Hickey Kool-Aid. And then Alan Weinbrad got up, and he did admit that Tom Spoda had a blind spot for Burke because they're friends. But again, he said he did not cover anything up. They all claim that Burke never told them that he assaulted Loeb, so how could they cover anything up if they didn't know about it? One of his quotes was, "None of them could believe this crazy allegation had actually happened." Well, as of today, December 17th, 2019, the verdict was back. I was in the courtroom as the verdict was read. This is the verdict sheet. We were there furiously checking off as the jury foreman read the verdict. Guilty on all 4 federal counts for both Tom Spoda and Christopher McPartland: conspiracy to tamper with witnesses, witness tampering, obstruction of justice, and accessory after the fact to the deprivation of Christopher Loeb's civil rights. What's actually interesting in all this is today is December 17th, and Loeb was assaulted and arrested by Burke almost 7 years to the day. It was actually December 14th of 2012. It actually came down and people were racing to the courthouse because the jury sent a note at 10:43 and they read the verdict by 11. That was quicker than normal. My cell phone, when I talk about getting text messages, was blowing up with people from all over the county, both in the legal profession and on the political side, wanting to know, is it being read? I want to be there. I want to see it. So the people who were obviously on Spoda and McPartland's side did see one of his former office staff actually in tears later on in the parking lot. But other people were celebrating openly. Christopher Loeb was in the parking lot and he was live streaming and saying this was vindication. One of the Suffolk police officers, Legislator Rob Trotta, who had been transferred off a task force, he was there saying, you know, this is exactly the day we've been waiting for. Throughout this whole testimony, a lot of people in the courthouse were describing it as, is this the way the police department acts? I think there will be a lack of trust, I guess, for police officers. Are any of these people who were involved still there? Do they still behave this way? Interestingly enough, right after the verdict came down, within minutes, the Suffolk Police Department and the Suffolk County Executive's Office put out statements distancing themselves from Spoda and McPartland, and the police department in particular, saying that this is not the same department anymore. Right after the verdict, the U.S. Attorney's Office had a news conference outside and spoke about how these 3 men, Burke, McPartland, and Spoda, were the law and order. How he said the good old boys network of what this county was is dead. I think that the takeaway is that even the most powerful, we think about Spoda, He was the top prosecutor. McPartland, like third in charge in that office, and Burke, the police chief, that nobody is above the law. It may take a long time for it to come out, but everything that was brought out at trial had been sort of spoken about before through many of my sources for years. And now it has come out and they have been convicted.
Well, let me just say this.
The stunning fall of
Eileen La Palmer is a phenomenal investigative reporter. I reached out by email to see if I can get her to come on, in a show in the future, and I'm hoping that she answers. I emailed her just today. She did a fantastic job on that piece. And that was a long time ago. Guys and girls, that was over 3 years ago she did that report. And the amazing part about all of this is that James Burke was able to exist from 2012 to 2015 within the county of Suffolk Police Department as the chief, the highest ranking uniform member, while all this corruption was going on. And he bragged and boasted about it to his fellow executives. Now, this is not saying that the rank and file, I'm talking about the guys, the police officers, the grunts on the line, out there in the field, low line supervisors, maybe sergeants and detectives. Not all of the members of Suffolk County knew about this behind the scenes working of James Burke. But there is always going to be bad apples that will spoil it for the whole crew. And, I think strongly that guys like James Burke and other criminals that sneak into the police departments and are under the guise of law and order. Those are the guys that make it so hard for the good police officers, police executives that are out there trying to do the right thing. And Rodney Harrison, who's in charge now, I highly, highly respect him. And I know that he has a difficult task, a difficult job ahead of him to prosecute and go after whoever. And he said it in his interviews, wherever the evidence takes us is where we're going to go. And I truly believe that the mentality that he brings from the NYPD is going to hold true to that. It's going to hold true to that. So it's going to be an interesting ride that we're going to see. So let me just say this again, by a show of hands in the chat. How many folks believe that James Burke should be highly, highly looked at, strongly looked at through the new forensic investigative tools that we have? Everything and anything, the kitchen sink, as our good friend Dave Rader from EquiSearch Midwest always says, they should throw the kitchen sink at investigating James Burke. Because what we're going to listen to now is the 911 call that was placed on May 1st of 2010 by Shannon Gilbert. And in this call, you're going to hear her many, many times say, there's somebody following me. They want to kill me. And she even says, you set this up. You knew you set me up. You set this up. You're going to kill me. She says it to her driver, Michael Pack. She says it to Joseph Brewer, who was the man who used an illegal service. He solicited a prostitute. Okay. No matter how we want to try to be kind to Shannon Gilbert, she was a prostitute. She got called by Joseph Brewer to his home. He ordered online the services of a prostitute, a sex worker, however you want to say it. There's no nice way to say it. Why wasn't he arrested at the minimal that night? At the minimum, why didn't responding detectives who interviewed this guy and cleared him, by the way, they cleared Pack and the driver, that's an illegal thing as well, by the way. being a driver and a security guy for someone who's committing a crime, he's arrestable, and you could arrest him on that little low-level misdemeanor charge, and then interview and interrogate him further and corner him in an interview and interrogation room and get more information out of him. They didn't do that. Why didn't Joseph Brewer get collared? Why wasn't he removed from his home the morning of Shannon Gilbert's 911 call? Why wasn't he removed and arrested and charged with that misdemeanor solicitation of a prostitute? It's illegal last time I checked in New York. He wasn't arrested. Crazy. If you suffer from PTSD or things like this may get you, triggered, please check out and come back. This is going to be about 11 to 12 minutes. I just want to give that disclaimer because this is sensitive information. You're going to hear Shannon Gilbert. And all right, let's just find out how many of you have heard the entire 22 minutes of Shannon Gilbert's 911 call. Put a 1 in the chat if you heard it, put a 2 if you only heard parts of it, and put a 3 if you never heard of it. I'm giving you 3 choices. We're going to go with 3. Some people get pissed that I don't give a third choice. 1 if you've heard it in its entirety, 2 if you heard part of it, 3 if you've never heard it before. I want to see how many 3s. Kelly C, thank you for becoming a member. She never saw it, never heard it. JB heard parts of it. Robert and Jared Rubin has never heard it. Connie heard parts of it. Aunt BB2 heard parts of it. Iris, of course, heard it all, about it probably 100 times. Iris Hewlett. She's probably listened to it with high-class headphones and has done an enhancement on it. She's like a super sleuth. Okay, Joseph says, I'm okay with hearing it. I heard it. I saw it. Yes, thank you. Pippi Longstockings, never heard of it. Never heard it. Okay. I'd just like to get an idea of what we got. And listen, I'm playing this because it's been requested big time. It's a popular email that I get on DutyRon.com is, DutyRon, please play the entire Shannon Gilbert call so we can listen to it together. So let's do it. This is Lieutenant Kevin Byra, Suffolk County Homicide. He's still on the job. And again, listen, Suffolk County is going with that it was a tragic accident. I don't buy it, and I'm going to say this. Hear me out. Rodney Harrison is not going to be vocal about whether they are reinvestigating this 911 call and what happened, the incident on the night of May 1st of 2010. He's not going to come out publicly and say, hey, listen, I've reopened this investigation. We're going to be, so there is a potential that Rodney Harrison and his new good staff of investigators, these are the people who arrested Rex Heuermann. Don't forget, this happened March 14th is when Rex Heuermann was identified. So there's a possibility that they are now, right as we speak, openly investigating and looking at stuff, looking maybe to interview Pack and Joseph Brewer. I don't know. But I know if I was in charge, I certainly would visit that. I certainly would visit it. All right, here we go. Guys and girls, please, mods, put up in the chat. Thank you, William, for becoming a member. And let me see, there's 6-starred messages. Kelly C, thank you for becoming a member. I'll do these quick. Let's unpack that. I answered this question. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Lake Lady, thank you for becoming a member. Alana, thank you for becoming a member. And Bill, thank you for, William, thank you for the super sticker. Appreciate that. And thank you for becoming a member. Holy cow. Julie, thank you for your 24, wow, 2 years as a member. Julie, Misty W. I want to hear it all. Thank you, TW. Love you, DutyRon. Okay, great. Let's listen without further ado. So this is the lieutenant from Suffolk County Homicide. Again, you may be triggered by some of the things he says because Basically, they say this is a tragic accident. But if you listen closely, put headphones on, if you're outside the country, you're inside the country, no matter where you are, listen to this with headphones. Put the volume up high. It's going to be at times painful to hear her screaming and yelling, but she says some things like somebody's after me numerous times. She says, why are you going to kill me? What? Are you going to kill me? Why do you want me to go outside? And then she says in one part of this to Michael Pack, you knew this all along. You brought me out here to set me up. So I feel like from listening to this many times, and I put professional headphones on, that she feels and knows that there's somebody outside waiting to take her, to possibly kill her. So this 911 call is telling. And you can argue that she was on drugs and that she may have been delusional. But when someone's delusional, they don't answer questions so quickly. These 911 operators are difficult at best to listen to. They suck, as a matter of fact. And I'm sorry to all my great 911 dispatchers. These state and Suffolk County, these two, you know, I'm not trying to be a bully, but they sucked. They sucked.
Pardon my French, but you're an asshole.
The questions they asked her, the way they handled it, should be a training. It should be used as a training video on things not to do. So let's let it roll.
One calls made on the day. Commanding officer of the Suffolk County Police Homicide Section. This video was made to explain the circumstances surrounding the 3 911 calls made on the day Shannon Gilbert went missing. The full, unedited 911 calls are available, and I encourage people to listen to them in their entirety. Portions of the call taken out of context will sound sensational. During the early morning hours of May 1st, 2010, Shannon Gilbert, a Craigslist sex worker and resident of Jersey City, New Jersey, traveled from Manhattan to meet a client, Joseph Brewer, at his home at 8 The Fairway, Oak Beach, New York. Shannon was driven to Oak Beach from Manhattan by her driver, Michael Pack. Neither one was familiar with the area, neither one had been there before, and neither one had met Brewer before. Pack waited in the car while Shannon was inside with Brewer. Pack was her de facto security. At 4:51 a.m., while at Brewer's house, Shannon called 911. This call lasts for more than 21 minutes. At times, Shannon is speaking calmly, but slurring her words. At times, she is not responsive, and at times, she is screaming. During this call, Brewer and Pack are heard trying to get Shannon to leave the house. Shannon eventually does leave the house and runs to Gus Coletti's house, located at 17 The Fairway, which causes him to call 911 at 5:22 a.m.
All right, here it goes.
State Police, Trooper Fry. State Police.
Yeah, there's somebody after me.
I'm sorry?
There's somebody after me.
Where are you?
There's somebody after me.
Okay, where are you?
There's somebody after me.
Where are you, ma'am?
I don't know.
You're driving right now?
No, I'm inside the house.
All right, I'm sorry that I'm stopping this because I feel like I took the branding off the top. In each one of these sections where she goes, this is a depiction, and I don't know if you could see it well, but this is where she is. This is the house where she was called to by Joseph Brewer. This is the house in the Oak Island Association where she's called to. And this down below is a great photo of the actual house. And here's the street that I drove down, this narrow street. And she goes out this street and then goes to, so as this thing unfolds, just watch up here on the top where my mouse is, where the red house is, and then it will give you the actual where she goes and everything. So I'm not gonna stop it again, I promise. This time I promise. But I want everyone to follow this and follow it closely because it shows everything that she did as it pertains to this.
State Police, Trooper Fry. State Police.
Yeah, there's somebody after me.
I'm sorry?
There's somebody after me.
Where are you?
There's somebody after me.
Okay, where are you?
There's somebody after me.
Where are you, ma'am?
I don't know.
You're driving right now?
No, I'm inside the house.
I'm sorry?
I'm inside the house.
What house?
I don't know. Can you trace where I am?
I'm sorry?
Can you trace where I am?
No, I can't. What's your callback number you're calling from?
Huh?
What phone number are you calling from?
Somebody's after me. Please.
Are you in Suffolk County or Nassau County?
I'm in Long Island.
Where on Long Island are you?
No. 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 No, stop, no.
Where in Long Island are you? In Suffolk County? Nassau County?
Huh? Why? Why you call me by my name? Why?
County, you on the line?
Stop. Please. Stop it, please.
Prostitutes never like the Johns, the customers, to know their real name. And Michael Pack was calling her by her first name. She gets freaked out about this because it's a big no-no. Huge no-no.
Where in Long Island are you? In Suffolk County? Nassau County?
Huh? Why? Why you call me by my name? Why?
County, you on the line?
Stop. Please. Stop it, please. Please stop. Please. Can you shut the door?
No, time to go.
Please. Please. Please.
Go that way, please. Come on, let's go. Come on, roll that side. Come on, roll that side. Come on, roll that side. Come on.
No, please.
Come on. Please, come on.
Please.
Come on.
Why?
Just come out here. Come on. I'll go upstairs. You leave. I'm going to go upstairs. You leave. I'm going to go upstairs. Okay? You leave, please. Please, get there. My hold. All right. What's the matter? Are you okay?
What are you going to do? What are you going to do to me?
What are you going to do to me?
Why?
Huh? Well, I don't know, but it was transferred to me.
Why?
No.
What are you going to kill me?
What are you going to do? Kill me?
I think it's just a county on the map. The county on the
Kill me? Why are you going to
Call Suffolk on the map.
You freaking mouth, come on.
I'm in the middle of nowhere?
Let's go back to Manhattan, all right? We're in Long Island. We're out near the water.
Please, stop.
Me, Mike, brother, come on.
No, stop it, please.
Hello?
Please.
Hello?
Please.
What's the matter? What happened? Hello?
Please, get me out of here, Lee.
Hello?
You're being sarcastic about this. You were part of this all along.
I just met him just now.
Shannon then ran from Brewer's house at 8 the Fairway to Gus Coletti's house.
So before this lieutenant narrates a little bit more of this, I want you guys to pay attention to what she says here. You are a part of this all along. And she says, why are you trying to kill me? Are you trying to kill me? This is telling. And, you know, these two, when they were interviewed, Michael Pack, the driver / bodyguard, and Joseph Brewer, they basically said to the police she was on drugs and she freaked out. She went into this crazy delusional rant. She didn't sound delusional at all to me. You know, they were laughing at her, and she was like, you knew about this all along. You were a part of this all along. We hear so much from former sex workers. The girl Nikki Brass, who talks about Rex Heuermann and the date that she had in Port Jeff. She says, I have a sense. I have this spidey sense, so to speak. They know when shit's hitting the fan. They know when there's something that's not right. And she knew when Pack, the driver, who knows the code, he knows the code. You don't give up the prostitute's first and last name. And he was saying Shannon Gilbert in front of the John, Joseph Brewer. That was the first thing that Shannon was like freaked out about. She was like, why are you saying my name? Why are you saying my real name? And the rest of it went to shit after that. Now she goes and runs for her life. And as we hear from Coletti, Gus Coletti, who's at 17 the Fairway, Gus Coletti says it's a 14-year-old girl and she looks like she's in big, deep trouble. He calls 911. But he says it's some guy following her with a black SUV. That's Pack. He was following her. And this guy Coletti, no matter what anybody thinks of him, because I don't know much about him, he gave telling information that this girl is in danger and there's somebody following her. If Michael Pack felt that she was delusional and that she was crazy, he would just got in his car and drove off. Now, I know it's about the money and getting paid and all of this stuff, but Pack being cleared and Brewer being cleared is bullshit. And this is all during the reason I'm saying it's bullshit is because this is all during the era of James Burke. James Burke, the scumbag that he was and how dirty he was and how he was involved with prostitutes, he didn't want any of this to come out. All of those guys, those perverts in that Oak Island Association, not saying everybody in there, okay? Shout out to the Oak Island Association. There's probably lots of really good people in there. But these little bands of perverted men who were calling up prostitutes and getting them to come to their cushy homes in Oak Island and Oak Beach, they all didn't want to be exposed, just like James Burke. And James Burke was a frequenter of Oak Island Association and the parties and getting the girls to come out there. Because why? It was in the middle of nowhere and there's no record of it. So let me know if you're with me on this. Putting a 1 in the chat if you're with me. Put a 2 if you think I'm off. But after further review of this, I don't think, this is my opinion, I don't think that it's far-fetched to say that James Burke, Pack, Brewer, Dr. Hackett, and all these other scumbags didn't want this out there. And this all happened in 2010. Don't forget, 2012, Burke became the highest ranking uniformed member of Suffolk County's police department. But guess what? In 2010, he was pretty close to that highest rank. He was probably an inspector or close to being chief. So Burke was high up on the totem pole and had a lot of power to say, hey, Let's squash this. This is just a sex worker. This is just a prostitute that is missing. We don't know where she is. Let's not investigate this. Let me know what you think in the comments.
You were part of this all along.
I got my head just now.
Shannon then ran from Brewer's house at 8 the fairway to Gus Coletti's house at 17 the fairway, a distance of 0.2 of a mile.
Shannon.
That's her running. This noise that you're hearing, that's her running. She's running from this location up on top, where they're showing the red dots, to the next location, to Gus Coletti's house.
Shannon interacts with Coletti. He invites her inside his home.
Shannon.
Somebody here? Huh?
Hello? Hello?
Don't keep yourself hurt. Where are you going? Wait a minute. Where are you going? Where are you going?
She then runs from Coletti's home, prompting Coletti to call 911. After Coletti's call, Shannon then runs another 0.2 of a mile to another home at 43 the Bayou, prompting a third 911 call made at 5:30 a.m. by Barbara Brennan.
Suffolk Police 873 was location of emergency.
Yes, I live at Oak Beach in the association. There's a young girl about 14 years old running around here screaming, and there's some guy trying to follow her.
What's the address there?
I'm at 17 the Fairway.
All right. You have a description of the girl or the boy?
Pardon me?
Do you have a description of the girl or the boy?
The girl is about 14 years old, got blonde hair, very small. The boy, I can't tell. He was into like a Suburban.
What color?
Black.
Did you happen to get a plate number or any phone?
No, I didn't.
Okay, telephone number you're calling from?
4.
Are they still on the fairway?
They just went past the gatehouse where the entrance is.
And what's the name of the complex?
It's Oak Beach Association.
Okay.
I'm going to tell you this, Alana M., thank you for that question. It's a question that's very, very, a very good one. She was in a panic, and he said when he was interviewed that he tried to open the door and let her in, but she may have been panicked and she saw another man's face. If that was a woman that opened the door, a younger woman or someone she felt comfortable with, I think she would have gone in that house. But this black SUV was tailing her. So anybody that let her in the house was in danger. And I personally, at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, would never advise somebody to open up a door to somebody in the middle of the night. Although now we have the knowledge of what happened to this girl, everybody, it's easy to say, well, they should have let her in. Somebody should have helped her. But if you are in this similar situation, you have to gauge what your self-defense level is, what your skills are. Because if she was someone who's just trying to get into a house, because as we know now, people just make up these stories, and then there's people waiting, and they come into your house and they tie you up and, you know, do a home invasion or, God forbid, kill you. So it's a very hard Monday morning quarterback thing here. But he did open his door, and he did try to give her like, hey, what are you doing? And she ran off. So it is what it is. You know, like I said, you can't Monday morning quarterback this thing, but Gus Coletti was willing to help, but she ran off. She got a bad vibe and said, "No, I'm out." And she ran down to the end, where she went to an older woman's home who had her elderly mom there, and she was frightened. And she said, "I'm not letting her in." She got a woman that she knocked at her door, but she didn't let her in. So let's take a listen. I'm about to gift out some memberships. Make sure you're subscribed, and also make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe, like button gives you a chance to become a free member.
Boy, I can't tell. He was in the
location of emergency.
Yes, I live at Oak Beach in the association. There's a young girl about 14 years old running around here screaming, and there's some guy trying to follow her.
What's the address there?
I'm at 17 the Fairway.
All right. You have a description of the girl or the boy?
Pardon me?
Do you have a description of the girl or the boy?
The girl is about 14 years old, got blonde hair, very small. The boy, I can't tell. He was into like a Suburban.
What color?
Black.
So the reason Shannon Gilbert, small, she fits the criteria for Rex Heuermann. James Burke, she fits the criteria for him because A, she's a prostitute, sex worker, small, in that Oak Association. A lot of things would point, and you have to have strong evidence to prove, to prove that James Burke or Rex Heuermann or both were involved in this thing, or involved in any of the other ones. The three charges against Rex Heuermann have lots of evidence to back it up, and they're waiting on the fourth for Maureen Brainerd Barnes. All right, so here we go with the free memberships. Good luck. I hope you guys win, whoever it is. Congratulations and welcome to Crime Time with DutyRon.
Did you happen to get a plate number or any?
No, I didn't.
Okay, telephone number you're calling from?
Fourth.
Are they still on the fairway?
They just went past the gatehouse where the entrance is.
And what's the name of the complex?
It's Oak Beach Association.
Okay.
Out by Robert Moses.
All right. We got somebody over there.
I'll be watching.
Oh, okay.
Bye.
Suffolk Police 875. What is the location of your emergency?
43 The Bayou. Some woman is not.
You can hear Shannon Gilbert knocking on her door.
Association.
Okay.
Out by Robert Moses.
All right. We got somebody over there.
I'll be watching.
Oh, okay.
Bye.
Suffolk Police 875. What is the location of your emergency?
43 The Bayou. Some woman is knocking at my door.
What town are you in?
Oak Beach Association.
What's the nearest corner street now?
Ocean Parkway. She says she's in danger.
Do you know her or no?
No, I don't. I'm not letting her in.
She's banging on your door now?
Yes.
Did she say what kind of danger?
No.
Oh.
And we live in a gated community.
What's your name, ma'am?
Barbara Brennan.
What's there a name to that community?
Oak Beach Association.
Oak Beach Association.
And I have an elderly mother here.
All right, I'll get somebody right over there, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
That woman sounded horrified. And there's many in the chat and many in my previous chats when I covered this, were like, how dare her? She should have let her in. She said that she has an elderly mom there. You could hear it in her voice. She sounds terrified. This is 5:30 in the morning. She was probably woken up out of her sleep. And you could hear Shannon banging on the door, knocking. And Shannon did say something. We'll just take a listen to it again. But I feel that this woman, Barbara Brennan, made the right choice. I mean, looking back at it, you'd say, oh, I wish that she would have opened the door. But if she opened the door, she might have put herself in some major danger. She might have met the same demise that Shannon Gilbert has met on that fateful night. So as a police officer, police detective, I'd never recommend, unless you can handle yourself or you have a sidearm or you know how to handle yourself. It's a dangerous decision to make. So let's take a listen again.
43 the Bayou. Are they still on the fairway?
They just went.
What is the location of your emergency?
43 the Bayou. Some woman is knocking at my door.
What town are you in?
Oak Beach Association.
What's the nearest corner street now?
Ocean Parkway. She says she's in danger.
Do you know her or no?
No, I don't. I'm not letting her in.
She's banging on your door now?
Yes.
Did she say what kind of danger?
No.
Oh.
And we live in a gated community.
What's your name, ma'am?
Barbara Brennan.
What's there a name to that community?
Oak Beach Association.
Oak Beach Association.
And I have an elderly mother here.
All right, I'll get somebody right over there, okay?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
This is drone footage and footage shot from the ground showing the marshland. It was taken at the same time of year and time of day as when Shannon went missing. These reeds can grow over 12 feet tall. They can disorient someone inside them, causing them to lose a sense of direction. One cannot tell where the highway is or where the bay is. The reeds and brush can become impenetrable in places. There's a trench running east and west through the marshland. This was created to allow mosquito control. It is believed that Shannon followed this trench. Personal belongings of hers were found just north of the trench. Shannon's remains were found north of the trench, about 158 feet south of Ocean Parkway, approximately 3/4 of a mile from where she was last seen.
So this is the Barbara Brenner's home down here where my cursor is. I hope everyone can see it. Just right to the right of that depiction of the weeds. So this is right where she was knocking at the door. And here it says personal effects and personal belongings of Shannon Gilbert's were found. So she went from here, somehow got into here, and then went towards the parkway. Her remains were recovered just off of Ocean Parkway, as you heard the detective say there, a short distance.
These reeds can grow over 12 feet tall. They can disorient someone inside them, causing them to lose a sense of direction. One cannot tell where the highway is or where the bay is. The reeds and brush can become impenetrable in places. There's a trench running east and west through the marshland. This was created to allow mosquito control. It is believed that Shannon followed this trench. Personal belongings of hers were found just north of the trench. Shannon's remains were found north of the trench, about 158 feet south of Ocean Parkway, approximately 3/4 of a mile from where she was last seen. There has been information received during the course of this investigation that other people might be involved in this incident. They have all been investigated, and there is no reason to believe at this time that anyone else is involved in this tragic series of events. The police responded to Coletti and Brennan's 911 calls. Pack, Brewer, and Shannon were all gone. Gus Coletti provided a description of Pack's car, which was also gone. This created the possibility that Shannon had been driven out of the area, which caused a delay in the initial search for her. The police department has thoroughly investigated this case for more than a decade. The official cause of Shannon's death is undetermined. This official classification means there is insufficient or no evidence to determine or even to exclude an actual cause of death. The Gilbert family has hired a private pathologist to conduct an autopsy. His determination is there is insufficient information to determine a definite cause of death, but the autopsy findings are consistent with homicidal strangulation. That pathologist's report will be made available. This case, including the 911 call, and all of the other cases commonly referred to as Gilgo, in their entirety, were made available to the Behavioral Analysis Unit, or BAU, of the FBI. As part of BAU's review of the case, they retained the services of a psychiatrist to review Shannon's words and actions on the 911 tape, and also to review the facts of the case. BAU's opinion, based on their review of Shannon's case, the scene, the 911 calls, and a psychiatrist review, is that Shannon Gilbert's death is not consistent with Shannon being the victim of violence or of a violent offender. Significant differences between Shannon's death and the...
Now that's coming from the FBI, BAU unit, Behavioral Analysis Unit, and a psychiatrist. Now, I don't know how a psychiatrist could be in the moment when listening to the audio, but this is what they went with. This is what they went with. This is not, again, the findings of Suffolk County Police Detectives. This is what they're saying that the FBI, and now, you know, the FBI never makes comment, so we never even heard a response from them, but it's just beyond bizarre. And the broken hyoid bone found by Dr. Baden, people are saying that that could be done by scavenging, you know, the indigenous wildlife and so forth. I don't know. I'm not an expert at that. None of us are experts at that. But this was troubling to hear this. Troubling.
Services of a psychiatrist to review Shannon's words and actions on the 911 tape, and also to review the facts of the case. BAU's opinion, based on their review of Shannon's case, the scene, the 911 calls, and a psychiatrist review, is that Shannon Gilbert's death is not consistent with Shannon being the victim of violence or of a violent offender. Significant differences between Shannon's death and the circumstances surrounding the other victims' deaths were also highlighted by BAU. The Suffolk County Police Department is open to evaluate any evidence to be able to help us and all involved determine a definite cause of death. However, based on the evidence, the facts, and the totality of the circumstances, the prevailing opinion is that Shannon's death, while tragic, was not a murder and is most likely an accident. While we are of the opinion that this was an unfortunate accident, we remain open to evaluate any information that the public may have. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-220-TIPS.
So it goes on after that to have the full unedited 911 call, and it's long. This video is 12 minutes, 13 minutes in. There's a total of 35 minutes. So there's, you know, more than 15 to 17 extra minutes to this video. I'm not going to play that. I'm going to link it in the description. There's so much to this case. There's so much room for us to believe because of James Burke and the history of Suffolk County, to reasonably have reasonable suspicion that they just swept this under the rug. You know, Dr. Hackett calling Shannon Gilbert's mom and saying that he runs a home for wayward girls, and all the craziness of him faking that defibrillation when he was deposed by John Ray. And coincidentally, I spoke with John Ray's secretary yesterday at his office. I'm close to getting him on for an interview. John Ray is the attorney representing Shannon Gilbert, the estate of Shannon Gilbert, and also Jessica Taylor. So John Ray will be coming live with us soon, I hope. He's very busy, and I know there's a lot going on. Also, Barbara Butcher will be coming on to give her opinions on this case and to talk about her experience. She did mention and was on with us in the past and did discuss this Gilgo 4 and Long Island serial killer. So we'll have retired chief of staff from the New York City Medical Examiners, Barbara Butcher, who knows a lot about this case. John Ray is the attorney who represents, as I said, Shannon Gilbert. And I guess maybe I'm talking on a delay. I don't know. Pauline, John Ray is the attorney for Shannon Gilbert and Jessica Taylor. So, you know, I want to hear both sides to the story. And the reason I'm bringing this forward to you guys is because I don't buy that narrative. I don't buy it now. I didn't buy it then. And especially now that James Burke is showing us in 2023 that he's not going away. he's still up to no good and committing criminal acts. And he got a slap on the wrist when he got arrested the other day for soliciting an undercover. And the reason he got that slap on the wrist is because of bail reform from 2020, thanks to Mario Cuomo. He was the governor at the time, and he signed in the Bail Reform Act of 2020 in New York State. Basically, it says if you commit all misdemeanors, you don't have circumstances behind you. He did have a violent arrest from a felony, but there's certain crimes of felonies in the New York State where you don't get bail. No bail is imposed on you. And that really is crazy that he was able to walk out of there. And it wasn't because of any corruption or anything like that. It was because under the letter of the law here in New York State, you can get arrested for soliciting an undercover agent, undercover state park ranger, and have your genitalia exposed in public, and you get a desk appearance ticket. It would happen to any of us if you were in the state of New York. It's crazy. But I believe that $145,000 a year pension for James Burke was a travesty of justice. Edward Weber was the police commissioner in Suffolk County. He signed off on his pension. Shame on him. That we should look into Edward Weber, the Suffolk County police commissioner, and also the county executive who gave his blessing on that in 2015. Stephen Ballone, the Suffolk County executive, said, James Burke, you can retire. And he retired on Tuesday, October 27th, 2015, citing personal and family reasons. James Burke stepped down knowing he was under federal investigation and a federal indictment was forthcoming. He was able to secure his pension because of the buddy system, because the executives in Suffolk County, they knew about it, and they said, let's give him an opportunity to resign with under his own terms. Let him resign without us having to fire him, because if they fired him, which they should have, he wouldn't have got that pension. But they fired him. They didn't fire him. They let him resign with the permission of the police commissioner. So Ballone is the county executive. He's the equivalent to the mayor of New York City. He runs the whole county of Suffolk. He was in on it. In other words, I'm saying in on it, meaning knowing that James Burke, who was a shady dude, he had sex with a prostitute they knew about in his car. The prostitute and his girlfriend took his gun and smoked crack and passed his gun around, arguably, with all the people she was smoking crack with or whatever, or took it out herself. He beat up Christopher Loeb in Suffolk County 4th Precinct. They knew about all this shit. And they still said, what's the thought process of saying, let's give this piece of shit his $145,000 a year pension for the rest of his life? He could receive that pension in prison. They can't take it away from him. Dirty Burke. Dirty Burke didn't get away with being Dirty Burke without help. Financially, that guy is making more than most of us here right now. MMM Rhino Girl, thank you for gifting memberships. I'm getting ready to wrap up, but I wanted to say thank you. Let me go here to Darlene Wolf. Thank you for the super sticker. Thank you, Tiger Lily, Nina, for becoming a member. Thank you, Lerna Manning, becoming a YouTube member. Jules Misty W says, again, I can't chat without money. Mods, help me. Julie, send me an email, dutyron4503@gmail.com with your screen, your YouTube account, like a clickable link to your YouTube page, and I'll check to see if you inadvertently got blocked. So I'm sorry about that. MMM Rhino Girl, $50 super chat. Thank you. She said, guys, make sure you're enabled the function for receiving gifted memberships. And she gifted out 10 memberships. Thank you for that. Much love to you. I'm going to wrap it up, guys, because I have to get my Saturday going. I got Mrs. DutyRon tapping on the floor and saying, let's get it going. Let's get out of here. She wants to go and enjoy this beautiful sunny Saturday. So I'm going to wrap it up. Sherry, thank you for the super chat. Thank you to everyone. By the way, Ed Wallace and I have the option now. If you want to send us a tip or for coffee, there's that little app called Buy Me a Cup or Buy Me a Coffee. We've enabled that. It's in the description of this video, and it's on all my social. If you don't like to use super chat, Buy Me a Coffee is available for both Ed Wallace and I. Ed travels the world, so he could use those cups of coffee. Thank you to anybody and everyone who's given there. Thank you to all who participated here. Let me know in the comments below, because your opinion, your thoughts matter here. Let me and Ed know what you think about James Burke, Rex Heuermann. Are they suspects in the Shannon Gilbert case? I think the answer to that is possibly yes, but we don't know because we have to look at all the evidence, and only the investigators have the evidence. We hope and pray that the current powers that be are doing the right thing. Rodney Harrison is a good man. He's got a great reputation. He's what's responsible, and his team and the task force is what's responsible, District Attorney's Office, for bringing Rex Heuermann into custody. And we have to be thankful for that, because it took 12, 13 years to get it done. The information was there when Burke was in charge, but he didn't want it. He didn't want that information because he knew he would be exposed for soliciting numerous other prostitutes. There would be more prostitutes. And I would encourage any prostitutes, girls, sex workers that have had engagements or contact with James Burke and Rex Heuermann. And I'm not afraid of James Burke. He lives on Long Island. He's still out here. I live on Long Island. I'm not afraid of a scumbag like that. If you have had encounters with James Burke at any time, going back to early 2000s and leading up to 2015 in his retirement, call the Suffolk County Police. Call the police. Send me a message if you're afraid to call the police, and I'll forward your message to the police myself, personally. I'm not afraid of this scumbag, dirtbag James Burke. He needs to be brought to justice if he's responsible for any of this stuff. And there's a chance that he is. I'm not saying 100% he is, but he is very dirty, and he is involved in very dirty shit. So that's the best that I could do here today. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and TikTok. One word, DutyRon. I'm a retired New York City police detective and a 9/11 World Trade Center first responder. I served 20 plus years in the New York City Police Department, taking evil off the streets. Again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you kindly to the mods and the replay viewers and all of my friends who leave positive thoughts and comments down below. You guys are what makes this a great place. I give thanks and praise to each and every one of you. On behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, I want to say thank you. Hope you have a great Saturday and Sunday. Enjoy the weekend. I will talk to you on the next one. Peace and love from Crime Time with DutyRon.